got miles! Oh! Yowza! Hum diddly dee!
Full Court Press episode 4, another week of NBA games, another week of us to talk hoops. Guys, what did you see from this past week that impressed you? Who do you want to shout out?
I'm going to shout out Cade Cunningham with the little Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green matchup last night. Jalen Green did have more points, but the Pistons came out on top. I think Cade just showed why he was a number one pick. He just looked poised out there and polished. And again, maybe his stats were lower than Jalen Green's, but I think despite that being the second win for the Pistons, I think it was a really significant win for them and something they'll be able to build off for sure.
Yeah, I mean, 2 one-win teams going at it last night. There wasn't much excitement in terms of Pistons versus Rockets, but it was fun to watch Jalen Green and Cade Cunningham go toe-to-toe. I know that those guys go way back to even before they were playing college basketball, so it was cool to watch them play against each other. I think it's going to be a fun matchup to watch throughout the years because I don't know who's better. I don't know if the Pistons were right taking Cade Cunningham number 1 overall, but I think we'll be able to know by the end of the season. LJ, after last night, do you think Cade is on top or Jalen Green? Who do you have right now?
Way too early to tell. We only seen. I mean, Cade was hurt for the first 2 weeks of the season. So I want to gauge my who's better off of that. But based off last night, it looks like the Pistons have their point guard of the future. I know it's just early to say, but he's easily has the highest ceiling. Yeah. Green's also a dog though too. I mean, Green's been. I think people forgot about him because he's in the G League, but he's been performing well too.
Yeah, I think the thing about Cade is they don't have a winning roster right now, but once they have a couple stars to work around him, he will do really, really well. And it's it is hard because they don't have that right now, but that's how it works. And once the Pistons get to that spot where he can really excel, it's going to be really fun to watch him.
Do you think he'll be able to do that in Detroit? Because, I mean, they have a lot of work to do. They have a lot of pieces to fill
Mm-hmm.
for them to be a winning basketball team, even with Cade Cunningham. Do you think he's going to be trapped?
I think at some point he's going to get the years of experience to be a leader and then to revolve a team around him.
Yeah. It's kind of like Anthony Edwards. It's like, will he be able to have a successful career in Minnesota? I don't know. He might have to leave.
Here's the thing about that, though, is both of those cities have culture issues.
Yeah,
that's the reason why, even if they get all this talent, the Timberwolves from a talent perspective should be at least an 8-9 seed in the playoffs, but with their culture, I don't know whether it's the management, owner, coaching, whatever, it just doesn't work. Mm-hmm. So they need to fix that before they fix anything else, in my opinion. So
yeah, I mean, the young guys always tend to do better when they're in a winning environment or a better franchise in general. Look at Gary Payton Jr. on the Warriors. He's balling out right now, and it's because he's on a winning team, and he has guys that can help him out and teach him not only how to win, but also how to play well too. Mm-hmm. My shout out of the week, I'm gonna first give it to my man Anthony Edwards. Go Dogs! He dropped 48 points last night. The Timberwolves lost to the Warriors, but I mean Ant-Man balled out, dropping 48 points in his second season in the NBA, and that's not even a surprising thing by him. He is so fun to watch, and he is continuing to prove to be one of the top young guys in the league.
And we've talked about it before. It's not just on the court. It's off the court. He's entertaining. He's real. He's raw. And people love him.
Mm-hmm.
Before I give my shout out though, I need y'all to like the damn video. Some of y'all watch this shit and then don't like it. So subscribe to YouTube, follow us on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. It'll be in the description. But as far as for our shout out, for my shout out, I'm gonna give mine to the whole Wizards team.
Yeah.
8-3 start. I don't think anybody saw that coming. If you just look at their roster, they have some pretty interesting players. KCP, Bradley Beal, even Michigan State legend Cassius Winston, Montrezl Harrell, Rui Hachimura. Just a bunch of guys that with nothing to lose. And I think that since the expectation for them was pretty low, that they're kind of just having fun out there.
And I think that goes with a lot of these shocking teams that are coming out of the gate heavy. The Heat didn't think they were going to be this way. The Bulls, when you're playing when you don't have this pressure on you, you're playing better. And then you have the Lakers and the Nets who the world is counting on them to do what they're
Yeah.
expected to do, and it's not working out.
Yeah.
Montrezl Harrell averaging 18 and 9. So really a really big improvement from last year on the Lakers. I actually watched him in the summer league. He played for so I think ATL hosts their own little summer league during the summer, and he dropped 55 against Isaiah Thomas's recreational team. So I'm as far as like it's just crazy to see like once he got to be on a team where it's not a ball dominant guard like LeBron or like Schroeder or whatever, AD, he can be a lot more productive. So
I thought the Wizards making the playoffs last year was like a one-time thing. I didn't think that they'd be able to keep it up and have another good season. I mean, they were the 8th seed in the East, which in Washington, I think that's a successful season. Right now, they are number 1 in the Eastern Conference.
Last, probably not, but
still an impressive start nonetheless
Right.
for a team in Washington. And let's go down the list with some of those teams that have stood out so far this season. We just talked about the Warriors or the Wizards. How about the Warriors, who are dominating in the West right now?
Right. Steph has his 50-point game. We have to shout him out for that. And it's not even about the record that they have or the numbers. It seems like the young guys are figuring out how we play this offense, and the way we play that offense is around Steph Curry. And if he passes you the ball, great, but so he can move and get open, and you can give it back to him. Like, I think they're starting to realize the rhythm of how this team works, and they're becoming really successful with it.
Yeah, and the best part about Steph Curry, he's the best shooter of all time.
Right.
We're getting to witness probably the best point guard of all time, and he's not only the best shooter, I think he's one of the best passers too, because he's a selfless player, and he will put his teammates in scoring positions, and that's why they've been so fun to watch this year. I mean, last night's game against the Timberwolves, Gary Payton Jr. had a couple of dunks. Like, they were having fun, and the Warriors were playing good basketball, and they proved why they're 10-1 right now and the best team in the league.
If you can get into that winning culture early and have that momentum, then you do start to play looser because you are on top, and even when you weren't predicted to be. And, Steve Kerr was even like, I'm in awe of what Steph's doing, but I'm not shocked at all because he knows that's what he's capable of, which is really cool.
You love to hear that from your coach. But keep in mind, the Warriors, they're dominating right now, but they're still without 2 of their best players. Klay Thompson, still on the bench, unfortunately, but he's going to come back. And don't forget about Marvin Bagley either. Once these guys are fully healthy, they could be back to where they were. And this is a stretch. This is a bold statement. I think the Warriors could show the same dominance that they did from 2015 to 2018 when they were winning the West.
That's a hot take.
It is. But I think that they have backed it up so far to start the season, and we haven't seen the Warriors with the Splash Bros in over 2 years.
I've said it every week. The only things they have to figure out are good things. Like, it only gets better from here. There's other teams that are in this whirlwind of what the hell do we do with our lineup, but they have this beautiful problem of we're going to have too many awesome guys to play. How do we get everyone in?
Yeah.
Here's the thing, too, is like, I don't know if I'm ready to go as far as them, being the dynasty team that they once were. But what I will say, y'all know this, I don't like the Warriors, but damn it, they're good.
They are good.
Damn it, and it pisses me off that they're good.
I was thinking about you when Steph hit his 50-point game.
And the thing is, like, the guy that they drafted in the top 10 last year is in the G League right now. He's not even playing for the actual organization, like, right now. Jonathan Kuminga is in the G League for the Ignite. And it's just, I don't know who to attribute their success to. I mean, obviously Steph, right? Do we give that credit to Steve Kerr or, like, the guys that are, like, playing their role, like Juan Toscano, Anderson? Even Andrew Wiggins is playing pretty decent. He's playing his role really well. So we'll see how the Warriors fare heading into the Christmas holiday season. So
And you think about other teams in California, the Lakers Heat game last night was just odd. Like, it was a little chaotic. Like, Howard's fouling out in 11 minutes. Like, Russ trying to force, like, a 3-point game winner. Like, Anthony Davis is trying to clean up the whole mess.
It
was bizarre.
Yeah. If I was watching that game and I didn't know who their head coach was, I would think it was LeBron James. He was on the sideline, standing up, arguing with the refs, like, bossing his team around that was on the floor.
That's every LeBron James team, though, right?
That is. And I think Frank Vogel needs to take charge of that team. I don't know if he's the answer, but someone needs to step up and figure out what's going on in LA, because they are losing games that they shouldn't. They lost to the Bulls last night. They've lost 2 games already to OKC. I think.
Oh, you
They
said the
didn't lose
Bulls.
Bulls.
They beat
No,
the
no,
Heat
no,
last
no.
night.
Yeah,
Beat
yeah.
the Heat last night.
They beat the Heat last night.
Lost to the Bulls.
Lost to the Bulls.
Mhm.
Lost to OKC twice. I think the Lakers
Those
just
are
need to
bad
figure out what's
losses.
going
Yeah.
on.
I mean, they have 12 new players. You have a completely new roster, and they are having a shaky start, but to some soft teams that, like, there's really no excuse.
Like the underlying thing with the LA too is that like everybody knows that if a LeBron team just makes it to the playoffs, they're gonna be successful. But based off of what we saw last year, that wasn't enough.
Yeah.
Usually it is, but granted, LeBron and AD were both playing with injuries, right? But I don't think that they should. They need to kind of flex their muscles early. In my opinion, this is the team that needs to find that success quickly rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
So because it's a really old team too, so
Yeah.
It
I mean, you
is.
compare two teams that have kind of been in a rut relative to where they should be, the Lakers and the Bucks too, for different reasons. You know, the Bucks are really hurt, and when you think about who could come out of this rut faster, I'd say the Bucks, because they have their chemistry, they know how their team operates. They just simply need to get guys healthy, and they're slowly on their way there. I mean, Holiday's already back. They just need Middleton for that offensive boost. But I have more faith in the Bucks coming out of this faster than the Lakers are coming out of their hole.
I would agree.
Yeah, I agree too. I think one of the biggest problems with the Lakers right now is Russell Westbrook not stepping up. I mean, this guy came in to the organization this past year, and he brought so much hype to LA. Everyone thought that they would be by far the best team with LeBron and AD, and then Russell Westbrook coming in. But right now, without LeBron playing, Russell Westbrook has yet to step up, and I don't think he's going to. This Russell Westbrook is not the same Russell Westbrook that he was before coming to LA. He is struggling this year. He's not putting up the same stats that he has been. If you look at this year compared to his MVP year, he's declined in every statistic. He's gone from 10.4 free throw attempts to just 4.8. That is what Russell Westbrook does. He draws fouls, he goes to the line. That's how he gets so
Something
many
everyone's
points.
struggling with
Yeah.
this season, though.
Yeah, that is true. Another thing, has over 5 turnovers a game. Russell Westbrook is just not stepping into that role that he needs to with LeBron being out. Because for them to win without LeBron, without AD, Russell Westbrook's going to have to take over and just be that guy, and that guy that we saw in OKC for so many years.
I think the problem with him right now is that he's trying too hard to be a good teammate. He's not playing his game. He's worried about what he's not worried about what people are saying. He doesn't care about that. But it's just he's not playing his game, and he's being very forced. Like, yes, like you can make the occasional three, but that's not your strong suit, right? So like, I would live in the pain if I was Russell Westbrook.
Mm-hmm.
But so yeah, go ahead.
I mean, this is his time. Like, if LeBron's on the court, we have the excuse. You know, you can't play your
Right.
game. You have two stars butting heads. But
Yeah.
he's not. Like, this is his time to, like, be the star on the court. And he's not doing it. With LeBron on the bench, this is his time to prove it. And it's not working out that way.
And his PER is 15.2, which is 119th in the NBA, which I think that's at least like the bottom 50%, I would assume. I'm not totally sure on that. But
Some of it seems like they don't trust him. You know, when they were in overtime a couple weeks ago, he probably could have finished that game alone, and they put Anthony Davis in, who was borderline hurt, to help secure that win. Like, maybe he doesn't feel like they trust him, and that's screwing him up mentally. You know, so there could be things going on off the court. You know, the trust and the loyalty of who do we trust with the ball. I don't know, but something's not clicking.
Yeah. Moving on to another team that is struggling. We mentioned them earlier, but the Milwaukee Bucks coming off their NBA championship.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're not looking too hot either. How do we feel about Milwaukee, who's 6-6 right now?
A championship hangover. Really
It
competitive.
is. It is.
I don't know. I attest a lot of it to them just being hurt. I don't think this is a rut they stay in at all, like I said.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about them in the long run of an 82-game season.
I'm kind of indifferent about the Bucks. I think they'll figure it out. I'm not too worried about them, especially since they're in the East. Like, there's not really a team that could seriously pose a threat to them down the stretch, outside of maybe Brooklyn, and that's damn near it, in my opinion. So
Yeah.
I mean, they're staying afloat-ish with what they have.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna take that into second thought about what you said. Obviously, the Nets and the Bucks were the top two teams that heading into the season, but right now I think you have to look at the Heat and the Bulls as teams that are gonna fight with the Bucks to be atop the East even at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's nothing about the Bulls team right now that is like fluky in the way they're progressing. Like DeRozan's fitting in really well offensively. They're number 6 in defensive efficiency. Caruso was a really great under the radar off-season trade. Like we talk about sustainability, and the Bulls.
Here's my thing with the Bulls though. They get a bunch of their buckets off fast break points. And when the playoff basketball, you're not going to have that many chances to get fast break points because defenses are usually, more wired in. So I think their team hasn't really experienced the playoffs all that much besides DeMar DeRozan. So that might, be a factor into them ultimately not being able to. They'll be able to compete, but they won't have a serious shot to win.
Right. I see what you mean. We praise their defense, but once the playoffs hit, everyone plays defense.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
What is your competitive advantage at that point if we're all playing defense?
I think that's how the Heat were in the bubble, and that didn't seem to affect them. They didn't have much playoff experience, and they still made it to the finals.
The bubble was interesting because it's like playing pickup basketball because there's no fans.
Right.
Yeah.
And I will talk about this later, but with offensive efficiency, like a lot of that had to do with guys being used to playing in a pickup basketball type area. Now they have all these fans back. It's a different environment they're getting used to.
Yeah. It is. So moving on, we've talked about the Warriors, we've talked about the Wizards, the Lakers, the Bucks. How about McKenzie's Philadelphia 76ers? There's a lot brewing in Philadelphia right now.
They're making it work.
I'll
give it to them. This is like poster child role players right here in Philadelphia. I mean, they're working an 11-man rotation. And what I like about it is that they're getting exposure on the court for down the road when we really do need them. I'm willing to take a couple losses early in the season for them to get some minutes. So when we're losing players deep in the season, they're not going to poop their pants when they get on the court.
Yeah.
So, I'll take it. And, I get excited about it, but, Daryl Morey's probably just like, oh, I'm just upping these guys' trade value now so I can throw them in a trade with Simmons. So he takes Tyrese Maxey away from Philadelphia.
Uh-oh.
I'm not returning.
The Simmons rumors do have Maxey going with him.
I know. I mean, the latest rumor I've heard is that with the Celtics is that they trade Simmons, Springer, a first-round pick, a second-round pick for Jaylen Brown and Hernan Gomez.
Bro, Boston's not doing that.
There's not a shot. I mean, we could
hope.
hope.
Who the fuck does he think they are asking for Jaylen Brown?
I don't know what he thinks. He needs to. What the front office needs to do is look at themselves and realize: do we still want to force trying to make a 2 All-Star play or two All-Stars on the court with low caliber players, or do we look around and realize we have well-rounded players, so we just keep building our depth, and we're kind of making it work. So why are we still trying to force getting something of the value of an All-Star Ben Simmons?
I'm not even trading Jaylen Brown pre-Ben Simmons' collapse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if it was 2020 or early 2020, I would not give up JB for Ben Simmons even then. So definitely not now.
He's a way better player than Simmons, even at that age. But of course, I'd like to see it happen. I'd like to see anything happen at this point. I don't know why the front office still sees this value in Simmons, but I think the holdout's going to stay until December. Mark my words from now.
I think it will too. I don't think teams are quick to jump the gun in getting Ben Simmons because they know that they have the upper hand in that fight. If the Sixers organization calls me and I'm a GM in Boston or somewhere else and they're saying, hey, we have Simmons, give us another All-Star, there's no way I'd even consider it just because Simmons has no value in Philadelphia right now. He can have value otherwhere. I mean, he's still an All-Star player, but the teams that are going to try and trade for him are going to try and get more value with giving up less.
Yeah, and they'll wait until they're genuinely struggling at a pivotal point in the season before they have to make a move like that. The only thing I do see with the Celtics is the head coach used to be at the Sixers, so maybe he thinks he has some kind of connection with Simmons, or he thinks he can make him a star player and whatever. Cheers to him if he can do it.
Really? You wouldn't be mad if Simmons goes and balls out?
I mean, you hate to watch anyone have a miserable career. I mean,
it depends.
he's coming close to that, but he's not there yet for me.
All right, and moving on. I know Ken's had that Philly rant to get off her chest.
I'm done now.
We are going to do something a little fun, something LJ brought to our attention. We're going to mix it up a little bit. We are going to do a redraft of the 2019 NBA class. top 5 picks were Zion Williamson, John Morant, R.J. Barrett, DeAndre Hunter, and Darius Garland. Some big names in that top 5, but there's some guys that snuck down the draft that could move up in value if they were to get redrafted now. So, guys, I'm going to pose it to you. Who would be your first overall pick in this draft? Are you sticking with Zion, or are you going to go to another player that stuck out like Ja Morant?
I'm going Ja.
I'm going Ja too.
Ja, both of you? Why?
There's too much unpredictability in what Zion can offer for the Pelicans, and that's what's scary. Like he has the potential to be better than Ja, but we haven't seen it, and we're already 2.5 years into the experiment, and he's played like what, maybe 35, 40 games max.
Yeah.
And so it's when I've seen Ja bring to the Grizzlies, he's almost like changed their culture, kind of in a sense. Like when you see the Grizzlies play on TV, you look to Ja as to be their leader and to be their kind of energy spark, and that's why I would take him over Zion Williamson.
Yeah, I think Ja he has a longer, more productive career than Zion, and I think health and injury is a battle that Zion will really never escape in his career. I think it'll always add to inconsistency of him. That I don't see Ja having as consistent issues as Zion does related to injury and health overall.
If Zion is able to get healthy and stay healthy, I think by passing up on him for number 1, like if you get Ja over Zion and Zion ends up staying healthy, once he eventually does play, you're missing out on a generational talent. I mean, this guy had so much hype, probably the most hype I've ever seen out of any basketball player since LeBron. And that's why I'm not too quick to say I draft Ja over him, just because Zion, when healthy, is a difference maker, and he will take over any game.
Right.
And who knows, he could come back a completely different player, for better or for worse, when he does come back from this long hiatus. He's played 85 games. I just looked it up, which is way more than I thought, too.
Yeah, same. I thought it was less than that.
And, I mean, he's averaging 25 points and 7 rebounds. He's going to make an impact when he does come back. Right now, it's easy to say that you'd select Ja first overall, though, because he's made an impact since the first day he showed up in Memphis.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for us to see what Zion would do. We haven't seen it. But you have to, I mean, him being injured shows a path of how it's foreshadowing a career that could involve a lot of injury.
But for all those reasons that Taff named is the reason why I'm having Zion at 2 still.
Okay.
Those upside is it's the same reason why I'm not willing to drop him any further than 2. Like you see how bad his team is playing without him. They only won 1 game this year so far through the first 12 games.
Yeah.
So he's my second choice. I don't know about y'all, but
I have him a second
Number
too.
2?
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Ja and Zion, 1, 2 in that order. Who we have at number 3?
I have Darius at number 3. I think he's posed himself as an offensive threat. He's made an impact, averaging almost 16 points a game. I don't know. If I just had to pick in a top 5, I would take him over RJ and Hunter too.
I have Darius way lower than that on my list. I'm sticking with RJ at my 3. He's starting to show why he was drafted number 3 this year. I know he kind of took a backseat because Randall had an MIP season last year, and D Rose is on that team as well. But with all that being said, his PER is pretty good for somebody that's third, fourth best option on the New York Knicks team. And I think out of all the 3 and D guys, he's stuck out the most to me.
So Kins has Garland moving up from number 5, where he was drafted, to number 3. Where do you have him, LJ?
I actually have Darius Garland. Let me check my notes really quick. The fact that I'm scrolling so much is kind of should be concerning. I have him at. I'm gonna put him at 7.
Okay.
I have him at 7. The guys that I have in front of him. My number 4 is actually Matisse Thybulle.
All right.
Yeah, that's my number 4.
I moved him up. I didn't put him in a top 5.
Him and Tyler Hero are my 4 and 5, and I have them kind of interchangeably. But I think they bring more to the team than Darius Garland does. Darius Garland is finally starting to show himself this year. But last year and the year before that, he was kind of taking a back seat to Colin Sexton and I guess Kevin Love. Jesus Christ. But yeah, I have him 7. Only because he hasn't shown what he can completely do up to this point.
Right.
Yeah.
What about you, Tim?
I think Darius has made a huge impact. I mean, like you said, almost 16 points a game, 7 rebounds a game, or 7 assists, which is big. I mean, he's contributing to Cleveland a lot right now.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bias of this season.
Yeah.
Definitely just he has a great season going. He's scored double figures in 8 consecutive games.
Yeah.
Just showing consistency, but I agree. I guess the past couple years not as much.
Yeah, that's why I have RJ in front of Garland too. RJ kind of struggled at first in New York, but he's really come into his own and stepped into a starting role in New York, and I think he has more potential than Garland and a lot of other players in this draft class, just because he's so talented. And that's why I'm keeping him at number 3, which is where the Knicks did draft him. Next up, who do we have?
I have DeAndre Hunter staying at 4.
Okay, DeAndre Hunter.
He's my 6, but I'm not mad at the 4 pick. Especially what I've seen from him in the playoffs last year kind of gave me hope for him to have a productive career. So I'm not mad about that one.
Yeah. And then moving on, who else?
My number 5, I have RJ Barrett.
Okay.
Why so low?
I don't know. It's less about him being pushed down and other guys being pushed up.
So you think that Darius Hunter long term has more value than RJ Barrett?
Yes.
Interesting.
Very
interesting.
How long has he signed with the Lakers?
I don't know.
If the Lakers can figure their shit out, that's a great place to grow as a player.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well,
wait, Lakers. RJ Barrett, you mean Knicks?
No,
Talking about
DeAndre Hunter.
DeAndre Hunter.
He plays for the Hawks.
No, DeAndre Hunter's in LA right now.
Did he get traded?
He got drafted to LA.
Yeah.
Wait.
DeAndre Hunter got drafted to LA, and he's in Atlanta now. Yeah,
Okay.
you're right.
You said I was like, nah.
No,
but
no,
anyways.
yeah.
He did get drafted to the Lakers though. He made an impact for the Hawks in the playoffs last year.
Yeah,
Though.
definitely. Him and Cam Reddish both, which is like I put Cam Reddish as my 10 or 11. I'm not gonna go through everything. That would take way too long.
Yeah.
But
Right.
just
I
to
want to
round
talk
out
about your
my top
Tyler
10.
Hero pick though, because I like that, moving him up.
And
Yeah.
he's my 5, and
Wow,
this 2020 bubble run was the reason why I put him at 5. I mean, he averaged 16. I think he was hitting 2.3 threes per game in the bubble during the playoffs. And his signature moment for me was when he dropped 37 in the Eastern Conference Finals against the I forget who they played. Who did he play in the ECF in 2020? Do y'all remember? Was it Philly or Boston? I can't really remember.
Not Philly.
Not Philly.
I'll just look it up.
I think it was Boston. That's.
Anyways, either way,
the
it doesn't really
bubble
matter.
was whack.
The bubble's just a fever dream.
It was.
Plus, I like his swag. Like he got just like a chill, like
See,
charisma to him, which kind of puts me up for him too.
that's kind of where I hesitate with him. He's kind of like
Too cool
a
for his
little,
own shoes.
yeah, like gets a little ahead of himself. I think he's still a little too inconsistent to
Here's the thing
feel the
too,
way he feels about himself.
because he was in the same squad as Devin Booker at UK, so I think he learned a lot from D Book, and he's kind of implementing that into his own game. I think he is way over his head. Like Ken said, he's a little bit too cocky, which that might come back to bite him. But other than Hero, I rounded out my top 10 with THT at my 8, and then I have Lou Dort at 9 and Cam Johnson at 10. Lou Dort, he was undrafted, so that's probably the biggest increase. We've seen him put clamps on what's his name when Chris Paul was in OKC. OKC almost pulled off the upset against the Rockets in the first round, and they put Lou Dort on. I should know who this person was, so I watched the whole series. Anyways, I think they put him on James Harden before he got traded. Yes, and he was productive, and he put the clamps on James Harden. So ever since then, I've been a fan.
Right.
Any other sleepers that you guys have from this draft class that moved up the board? Or any other people that you're moving way back?
Moving down.
Yeah.
I'm moving Jackson Hayes way
I was
down.
about to say that. I was looking at that right now. I was like, number 8, that seems a little...
Yeah.
bold.
Also, Kobe White's moving down for me too. He was drafted, I think,
6.
7.
7 to the Bulls.
To the
yeah.
Bulls, and I'll put him like probably in the 20s at this point.
Yeah.
Other than that,
Keldon Johnson has some potential too. Can move him up a little, but
also I'm moving Terrence Mann up as well. Yeah, I put Terrence Mann like probably high teens. So didn't mean to cut you off, but
No.
yeah.
So that was our redraft of the 2019 class. Let us know what you thought about it. Let us know who you think got snubbed or who got drafted too low or too high. And if you guys liked it, we'll redraft another class. There are a lot of interesting NBA draft class out there that we can go
For
through
sure.
and that we'd love to go through. Moving on to something that Ken's mentioned a little earlier, talking about just free throw attempts being down, trips to the free throw line being down, and just fouls in general, which are a result of the new foul rules and has led to offensive efficiency being very low across the board.
Yeah. And we talked about a lot last week with just the foul rules specifically and how that's taken a toll. But there are other factors to bring into this. One being the ball change, and two being the fact that fans are back. And they have been back for a little, but still, I mean, when you're playing in the bubble, you're playing with no fans. Like LJ was saying, you're playing like pickup basketball almost. Like, why not shoot the shot? It just feels like you have less pressure on you. So I think some of these guys are starting to feel the pressure of that back.
Yeah.
It was so funny. Oh, go ahead, my fault.
I think those are two things that we didn't mention last week, but definitely have a big impact for players. When you're playing basketball and there's a crowd, it makes it harder for the offense. One, because there are more people, it's more noise, more pressure. It only pumps up the defense. In an NBA, a league where you need motivation to play defense, I think fans only have contributed to that. Had a big effect on it when they haven't played in front of fans since before March of 2020, which is a long time to play without fans, and I'm sure it took them a while to adjust, and they're probably still adjusting. And then the other thing you mentioned was the ball change.
Yeah, I mean, it seems silly, but think about some of these guys who have been in the league for 9-10 years. If you're playing with the same ball every day for 9-10 years and you switch it up, it could sound silly, but when you put it in those, I mean, that's a lot to handle.
Yeah.
And some of the players have said, you know, we're simply playing with a new basketball. You know, so they are feeling the heat of that. But a lot of it does have to do with the new foul rule. A lot of these guys aren't drawing the fouls that they used to get with their little trickery plays.
Which I love to see. I mean,
Russ isn't getting what he wants. Harden's not getting what he wants.
I like basketball to be more physical.
Yeah,
I don't like the hand checks. I don't like the cheap fouls that bring players to the line just because they flailed their arms. I've enjoyed watching the refs let him play.
It was actually kind of funny. James Harden got an and-one call against the Bulls on last Sunday, and he actually celebrated and enjoyed it. He actually got a foul,
Right.
Yeah. It was hilarious that but I mean, it's been mostly good, but there has been some bad. Like I did see a play with James Harden again where he actually did get fouled, and they didn't call it, and that will happen. But like Tav said, I would rather that be the case, and like there'll be no calls, than there'd rather be too many calls.
Yeah, I mean, some people lack sympathy for these guys that are feeling the heat of this more drastically than others. But when you spend so many years crafting your game a specific way, which caters towards that, and now you have to change it up, it's got to be tough. And you know, it is going to take some time for them to adjust, and that's why Harden's numbers are down. Other guys have those numbers down. But when you're used to, you know, building your game around a specific finesse, I mean, it's hard to just rewire your brain and to stop making those moves you used to.
Yeah. All right, moving on. We'll do one more segment before we get to our Thursday locks for you. College basketball started on Tuesday, and I am so glad it's back. Being from North Carolina, that's what we live and breathe is college basketball. Pretty much every team has played their first game of the season up to this point. There were tons of games on Tuesday, which was awesome to watch. The two notable ones that we'll get into were in New York, Madison Square Garden, the Champions Classic. Kansas and Michigan State opened it up. Kansas dominated Sparty with an 87-74 victory. It's kind of what we expected. Kansas was preseason number 3. They proved why. And then following that game, we had Duke and Kentucky, which was a lot of fun to watch. Two teams that really struggled last year. Both of them didn't make the tournament, and Duke ended up on top, beating Kentucky 79-71, and both teams proved to be very talented this year. A lot of new talent on both sides of the ball, but players that really stuck out for Duke, first of all, Paolo Banchero. It's perfect that we bring him up because he is he has potential to be the number 1 pick in the 2022 draft. This guy, he's number 2 in the boards right now, but he looked stunning in that game against Kentucky. He went off for 22 points. He didn't play for some of the game because he was cramping up and whatnot, but he looked very good. He had the best mid-range jumper that I've seen from a college player in a long time. There's a lot of potential in him. But the thing is, he didn't even lead Duke in points out of the 2 freshman phenoms, the other one being Travis Keels. Duke could have 2 top 10, maybe even top 5 picks in next year's draft, and they balled out. Another guy I want to shout out for Kentucky is Shi Wei, who transferred in from West Virginia. He had 17 points, but what stuck out was his 19 rebounds.
That's what I love about college basketball.
Exactly.
I love to see rebounds. I love to see offensive rebounds specifically.
Yep.
And I love to see it's anyone's game. I mean, the bracket last year was so bizarre that the top 25 teams were so bizarre, but I like that. That's what I like about college basketball.
It was March Madness, definitely. So you're going to like this. Shi Wei, out of his 19 rebounds, 12 of them were on the offensive side of the ball. This guy was just dominating the boards on both sides. But it was just a great game. Duke came out on top, 79-71. But there's a lot of talented guys in college basketball that will be in the NBA next year. So it'll be fun to watch them develop throughout this season.
Absolutely.
We got some Thursday night bets.
We have some Thursday night bets. Only a few games happening tonight. The game I will be taking is Miami plus 4.5.
Damn it. You took my pick. It's okay, though.
Yeah. Let me pull it up. But, yeah, I think Miami's staying in LA. It's not like they have to travel. We're playing in the same arena. A little upset about last night. Yes, they played in overtime. Maybe they're a little exhausted. But I think going right back into the same arena is going to fuel something in them that at least will cover 4.5.
Yeah. It's weird going on a road trip and playing 2 different teams and then playing in the same arena.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like to be in Staples Center. I want to go. I want to mark it off my bucket list for basketball venues. But the fact that the Clippers and the Lakers share a stadium has got to be a disadvantage to them just because you're not playing in a new arena. And in basketball, I think it's a big deal because your whole depth perception, you're like, you have your places in the stadium, whether it's on the court, in the locker room that you're accustomed to. I think the Heat playing in the same stadium tonight could be a big deal.
Does everyone do that? Do they go out west? Do they play LA?
Yeah, most
the
of the
Lakers
time they
and
play all
Clippers
the
back to
Cali
back?
teams all at the same time.
Yeah.
Kings, whatever.
It's such an
Jazz.
interesting concept to play the same.
It
I don't know.
is.
I think it's cool, but I think that's going to work to their advantage.
So you're taking Heat plus 4.5 just to cover, or are you gonna take him outright to win? Money line, make a little more money. You don't want to be too greedy though.
I'll take the money line just to stir the pot.
All right, Kansas trying to make some money.
I'm taking the Heat.
I like it. Earlier in the pod I messed it up and said the Heat won because they should have won that game. I mean, it was.
Yeah.
I don't know how they didn't. They were winning for much of the fourth quarter. It ended up going to overtime. I think
there's a couple wrong moves made
Yeah.
just by management and stuff. I don't know. I think it should have been their game too.
I
I just love seeing the Lakers lose.
I know, me too. I was definitely cheering for the Heat. I know LJ wasn't, but
I'm not a Heat hater. I just don't think they're going to contend with the Bucks.
Right.
That's not the country.
But are you?
The Bucks. Go ahead.
It's more about you being a Lakers supporter.
Yeah, that's what I was
not.
taking a shot at.
I'm not a Lakers supporter. I'm a Russ supporter. That's a difference.
All right, but I like your bet there. I think
Thank
the
you.
Heat will be mad. I think that they have a little energy to let out before they go back home. LJ, that was your lock too.
That was going to be my lock, but since she did it, I'm going to change mine. I'm actually going to do a player prop lock, which if y'all that doesn't know what that means, it's basically like a live, not live, it's based off of like an individual performance, right? And I'm going to take Donovan Mitchell to cover his assists. They have him at over 4.5. I think the money line is -125, so I'll take Donovan to cover that.
All right. I like the player prop bet. Our first player prop bet of the pod. My lock of my Thursday night games. There's only 3, so we don't have much to choose from. I like the Utah Jazz. They're laying 10 points to the Pacers. They're back home. They beat the Hawks by 12 2 days ago, so they're coming off a day's rest. They're coming off a victory. They're 4-0 at home this year. That's why I think that they will cover a 10-point spread. and beat the Pacers pretty handily.
I like it. It's funny you said, I just want to bring it up quick, you saying you're just a Russ fan, and I don't even blame you for that, but I do think it's funny in pro sports how we become player fans because they move around so much. And that, a couple years ago, I remember talking about this with my dad, but I'm like, in the future, there will no longer be fans of teams, they'll just be fans of players that you follow around the league.
Well, I'm going to stop you right there. I'm an OKC fan.
You can have both.
Before I'm a Russ fan, so if the Lakers put Thunder, I want OKC to win every time.
Right.
But I would love to see Russ win a ring since he put so many years to our organization. So, there's that.
Just interesting.
No, I feel
food for thought.
Yeah, definitely. All right, I think that'll do it.
wraps it
That was a lot of basketball that we covered.
What's
in
our
that
log
30
for
minutes.
our all together?
FCP lock? Are we
I'm
taking
feeling
Heat?
together.
I like
heat
the
on this
Heat.
one. Yeah, I'm feeling heat on this one.
And we're not stealing your bet. You can put it for both.
No, yeah.
Especially with 3 games.
I like it.
I like the Heat to cover.
We have to
Taking the
recover
money
from
line?
last week. Last week
We'll
was not
take-
great for us.
I think we can play it safe and take them
So
to
what was
cover
your
the
overall
spread.
record
I'll
so
take the
far?
money line. We will take the full
Spread.
court press lock as the
So
spread.
we were 3-1 week 1, and last week we were 1-3.
Yep.
I think
So
so.
now
We're
we're
500.
Even. We're 500.
Just a
We got-
great
gotta
opportunity.
bounce
All right,
back.
here
Let's
we
go.
go.
Let's do it. Thank you guys for listening. Remember to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and eventually TikTok. And then subscribe on Spotify and YouTube. Hit that like button. We appreciate you guys for listening.
Be like Nike. Just do it.
Good
That
work.
might have been our best show yet. I feel
For
like.
Yeah, that was good.